back. Finally. Episode 24. I'm Steve. There's Aaron and Sid in the background.
Glad to be back.
I hope.
Hello.
I missed all of you. Us
should be.
Me not being in 23 and then us missing last week due to some just like conflict and schedule stuff. Just the crazy lives going on right now. It feels like it's been far too long. And I'm excited about today because the reason I personally right now I'm trying to sip down this coffee in tiredness is because of what we're talking about. So I'm very, very excited. This is a really great topic.
Yeah, and I had a feeling as soon as I brought up the topic,
it's
so
excited, applicable for this weekend too. So I'm really stoked to talk about it because I have some. Yeah, it's going to be good. I like it.
And Sid, we're all in the same boat right now recording. We're all extremely tired, so we're all slowly drinking coffee right now. So yeah,
among other things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So before we get...
I may or may not have helped my coffee out this morning.
I was just going to say some
little hair of the dog, as it were.
So before we jump into the topic, just even in the Discord, I was like, there's something big that got announced this week that we have to talk about. And unfortunately, we're bringing back Big Bad Disney again.
I think this topic's overrated. What do you think, Steve?
I don't think there's enough people talking about it.
All it did was fill my media news. That's all it did.
Everything did. So for those that don't know, Spider-Man is back in the MCU. Disney and Sony mended fences for the temporary. They're seeking counseling, trying to work this out. So they're going to share custody for another 2 films.
Tom Holland. Yeah.
It's like we're talking about.
Yeah, this is children's court. Although
over a child.
Tom Holland's safer with mommy Sony, but Daddy really feels like he makes a lot more money and deserves to have custody of him. But Mom is a little more caring for him. But really, both are just.
Yeah, Mom will be there more. Mom will take him to school. Dad's just going to get
Dad can afford a better education, but Mom's going to provide one that has a more loving household. I don't know. The more I take this through, because I have no idea who's at fault. Was Disney the greedy one? Because I keep hearing back and forth. Was it Disney that in the original say? Has any of that come out, or did they just say, "Hey, we're good," and everything's still rumor?
So Disney, from what my understanding, I don't know what. It's hard to wade through all of everything that's been leaked or not leaked, as I do air quotes, and you can totally see it. It's really hard to know exactly what happened, but the rumor is Disney asked for 50-50 split of the profits. And in turn, they were going to pay for 50% of the movie. So the way that it worked before was Disney gave Kevin Feige to help make the movie in exchange for being able to use Peter Parker in MCU movies. And they got 5% of day one ticket sales, which means opening weekend. And that's
what Marvel got, Marvel.
That was what Marvel got.
Okay.
Out of
So
that previous
basically, so they were doing 50-50 in production.
No, they weren't. They were giving no money for production. They were just giving Kevin Feige.
So the old deal was like, you get this genius brain who's overseeing what is amazing in Marvel, and in exchange,
plus 3 Marvel characters. So that's where like Iron Man came over.
Okay,
Happy came over.
In that exchange, where basically your money is 5% of whatever opening sales are, and that's it. After that, Sony gets everything. Okay.
After that, Sony got everything. But Disney owned the marketing rights to Spider-Man. So any of the toys that were being sold, clothing, all that other stuff.
Disney
went to
still
Disney.
owns the TV set, the TV
It's a very
stuff,
weird,
and all that stuff on just like outside notice.
Yeah. So it's a very weird deal. And so in this new one now, apparently from what's been reported, is for the next movie, Spider-Man 3, Marvel and Disney are going to get 25% of the total revenue in exchange for giving up 25% of the funding to pay for the movie.
Total revenue.
So, and Kevin Feige is involved. Yeah, total revenue. And then 25% of the total budget they're going to cover, and giving Kevin Feige again. The whole thing was Kevin Feige, because that was Sony's little "we're angry" release. Was Kevin Feige's too busy for us now, so we just are going to take Tom Holland and go back to our corner with Venom.
Kevin Feige was an absent parent. I see. So mom was trying to protect little Holland from the too busy at work and not enough time to be home with the child. I see. Okay.
Yeah. Which, from what has been coming out, which again, it's not in our show notes, but what's been coming out in the last week about Kevin Feige actually kind of makes sense why Sony would have said
Star
that.
Wars.
So not even getting to that. So they've canceled the Ghost Rider.
I saw that.
Hulu
That broke
TV
my
series.
heart, by the way. I was really excited to see a Ghost Rider television show.
It broke my heart too, until I realized the reason is apparently Kevin Feige wants to make another Ghost Rider movie. So he doesn't want a TV series. He wants to bring, because they're doing that whole like dark side now with Blade and the like horror side
with Doctor Strange.
So now he wants to
too. Yep.
Yeah, and so he wants to bolster that side of, and Dark Knight is within.
Why do you always go to Batman
too? Because I have to.
What does Batman have to do with this?
It made sense that they're going to get rid of it. Everything. But apparently Kevin Feige is now going to oversee every TV series. They're going to pull everything back in. There's going to be no more like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. separate stuff that's not really connected, but is kind of in the world, and they introduce it like Daredevil and all that other stuff. All of that's going to go away, and everything's going to come under Marvel Cinematic, and Kevin Feige is going to run it. And then add in, he wanted to do a Star Wars movie, and so Star Wars was like, okay, because why wouldn't you let the biggest name in connected universes have a movie, or your entire universe?
Busy.
He's going to be very busy. Yeah.
Holy cow. That's a lot.
It is So I get why Sony was like, hey, we're going to terminate the deal. We're going to walk away. We're going to do our own thing, because, I mean, who you say is the reason we're so big isn't going to be available anymore. So why would
who caved then?
I think both of them caved to public pressure. I think.
Don't you guys think that was smart though?
Yeah. The release it.
No, I think it was. Don't you guys think it's smart they came to this conclusion? I mean, Marvel really doesn't have a choice. Have you both seen Far From Home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I have.
No.
Okay. Well, not to give anything away,
watch it today.
Marvel invested too much in Far From Home for them not to find a way to keep Spider-Man. Yeah, and you'll see it, Sid, when you watch it. What sense. I'm talking about, there's too much. Like Marvel, that's why I'm asking if you thought maybe Marvel caved for that fact, or maybe if public pressure has a lot of influence on what happens nowadays. Us all having a voice is both annoying and useful in cases. I mean, because you think about it, Sony and Marvel are both big companies, are both big greedy companies. There's nothing to that. I mean, they want to make money, right? Corporations like to make money, and we're the people who pay them, right? If we're not interested, the problem is that honestly, Sony could have bailed on Marvel completely, made a Spider-Man movie, and guess what? People would have watched it. I'm sorry, it would have made money. Like,
yeah, and especially they were setting up the multiverse, and the rumor was they were going to try and do a Spider-Man multiverse live action where they were going to bring in all the previous
Newsflash,
Spider-Mans as
Miles
well.
Morales movie was really good.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh God, yes. That and the Into the Spider-Verse animated movie, we've, as a family, I want to say we've watched it 20 times. I've probably watched it 5 or 6.
Have you seen that one, Sid? You haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse?
No.
It is. Yeah, Jess hasn't
No,
seen it either, and I
Netflix,
really
though,
want her to
right?
watch it because the soundtrack is bonkers. Like, I know that's a weird thing to say because the animation's amazing, the voice acting is incredible, the story is just deep, it's great, it's just well done. The movie, I want to say the movie's perfect, honestly. I don't think there's anything wrong with Into the Spider-Verse. I think it hits every nail on the head, and Sony could have kept in that direction and been fine. And I think they saw that. I think they saw that they could do that and be okay. Venom, not so much. But with Spider-Man, the End of the Spider-Verse, it was they could have ditched on Peter Parker entirely and gone the Miles Morales route and been fine. They didn't need Tom Holland anymore. And I know that's hateful because I love Tom Holland. I think he's great. I stand by.
I think he's been the best.
Yeah,
Peter
and
Parker
I stand by
yet.
Homecoming wasn't as good as Far From Home. I think Far From Home was a far better movie. I've rewatched them both now, and I just think Far From Home is a good movie. I know some people disagree. I don't, whatever. Anyway, it's Far From Home's just a better movie. It gave me faith in the Spider-Man being its own solo thing. I'm not a big Spider-Man guy, so Tom Holland's really who's doing it. It's just like with Thor. Chris Hemsworth sells Thor for me. And Chris Evans sold Captain America for me. All characters I'm not really big into. I don't think with Thor and Captain America, I never liked them at all. Spider-Man, I at least always liked because he had witty humor. Him and his banter with Deadpool has always been good in the comics. I think Spider-Man's a cool character. That's the difference here. Is like I never liked Thor or Cap. I loved Spider-Man as a character in general, but he wasn't one of my tops, right? Like he's not one of my faves, so I'm nor here nor there. But the problem with Spider-Man, for me personally, is that I love his array of villains too much to not want Spider-Man to be good. So, yeah. So you need to, yeah, right. You need to do your homework. You got to watch Far From Home and Into the Spider-Verse. I don't think you'll be disappointed with either. I think Into the Spider-Verse is just, like I said, I think it might be a perfect movie. It's so good. It's so good. The soundtrack is just killer.
Far From Home's not available to rent yet, so I actually have to go to Walmart and see if I can find it.
Yeah, and if you decide to wait on that one, I think
Into
the Spider-Verse is a better movie. Personally.
Yeah. If you had to choose between the two, Into the Spider-Verse is the way to go.
It's a far better movie.
Yeah, well, Stefan, the friend of mine that's staying with us right now, he hasn't seen Endgame or Captain Marvel or Far From Home yet. So I can't
But
talk
now
about
you need
any
to
of it.
show him everything.
And I'm just dying. Yeah, so, and none of them are available for rent right now, so I have to go out and buy them.
Yeah,
because
Captain Marvel, its release
iTunes.
for streaming is to be celebrated with Disney Plus's opening. Yeah.
Disney Plus, yeah.
So that's not until November 12th.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't think Endgame's going to be on anything for rent until Disney Plus as well.
So, we kind of went off on a tangent there. What are your thoughts without giving anything away? Sid, we'll start with you because I think that's best since you haven't seen it. Since seen Far From Home specifically, what are your thoughts just from initially from Homecoming and Holland's appearances in the movies such as Endgame? What are your feelings on him coming back? Like, how do you feel about that?
I was ecstatic. I'm not going to lie, because I had a feeling that if Sony backed off and didn't allow him to be included in the actual universe anymore, just from what I've heard about Far From Home, is they set it up for him to do great things, and then they would have had to figure something else out. And that it broke my heart that he was being taken out of the universe, because it's I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man is probably one of my favorites. I have actually watched all of the Spider-Man movies that Sony did, and I agree that Tom Holland is probably my favorite, and it made me sad that he was gone, and now I can't wait for the next movie.
Fair.
Yeah, I find so Ludacris, right? And this, I'm getting there. Ludacris is I mean, so when when you like that, Ludacris. So when I was a kid, right, Ludacris was a big deal. I loved Ludacris albums, right? I thought Ludacris was great. I liked his music. I mean, move, get out the way. You know what I mean? He had great stuff. I loved Ludacris music, but I loved Ludacris as a featured artist on other people's music more. I love Tom Holland. I'm going to make it. I loved Tom Holland in his movies, but I loved him as a cameo in the other movies better. You see, I made the connection. Okay. I just bridged it. All right. So when Tom Holland makes an appearance, I'm not saying he can't do standalone stuff, right? Ludacris was great by himself. Tom Holland did great in his movies. However, there's something special when Tom Holland's on the screen. I don't know what it is, and it's weird to say it, but like when he makes his appearance in Civil War, every line he delivers in that movie, every line, every moment that Spider-Man is on the screen is unbelievably shadowing over everyone else. I actually feel the exact same way about Ant-Man. I think Paul Rudd's Ant-Man, I like the Ant-Man movies. I know some people didn't like the first one. The funny thing about the original Ant-Man movie is the more I watch it, the better it gets. Kind of weird that way.
Yes, completely agree.
That movie gets better with time. It's kind of weird. It's like a fine wine there. And I liked Ant-Man and Wasp. But I can't say I've rewatched that movie because there was just that stint of Marvel movie after Marvel movie after Marvel movie. Honestly, I haven't had time to sit down and rewatch them because we did the Star Wars thing, and honestly, I've been watching TV shows and stuff, so I haven't had a chance to rewatch it to really give it the rewatch value. But I know on initial viewing, Ant-Man and Wasp was a good movie. I liked it. However, anytime Ant-Man shows up on screen as a cameo, he's better, right? So I would have missed Tom Holland in those moments, his cameo appearances. It would have, because with Robert Downey Jr. gone, every time Iron Man was on the screen, Robert Downey Jr. was delivering, right? Tom Holland delivers every time. And his unbelievable dedication to like he's got a weird connection with his fans, man. The guy is he's charismatic. He's fun. He's funny. The dude is and he's his own meme about like releasing leaks and stuff like that. They always basically have to have him escorted by like Cumberbatch or somebody else with Holland to make sure he doesn't there's so much around Holland that makes him special. I think he's something special, and I don't want to lose him, so I'm happy to hear that they came to terms and that he's back.
Yeah. I echo everything you just said. It's actually funny you brought up the whole like meme side of it. I'm pretty sure it was at the Comic-Con this year. So Kevin Smith, who we talk about a lot
because he's amazing.
He's Kevin Smith. He has been, I think the last 3 years, IMDb has a boat in San Diego during Comic-Con, and they bring people on the boat and he interviews people on the boat. And it's called the IMD boat. And he was interviewing the Russos. And they were talking about scripts and all this other stuff. And they were like, yeah, I don't think Tom Holland's even seen the final script for Endgame yet. And this is like way after Endgame's even come out. And they're like, yeah, still don't think we've given him the final script.
Yeah. Oh my.
Because it's like, yeah, it became him and Mark Ruffalo actually both are famous for spoilers. So there's actually a video that came out before Endgame where people were trying to guess that Endgame was the name. And I think it was Jimmy Fallon, The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. And Mark Ruffalo jumps up and he's like, I'll give you spoilers. And then he just starts talking, but they beep it out. And they're like, oh, see, Disney beeped everything out. Some amazing sound engineer went back and removed the beep. And you can hear him actually yelling out the name. He says, and the title is Endgame.
Oh my God.
So he legit was saying spoilers.
Oh no.
But I'm sure it was all a setup because, yeah, like he jumped up and they were beeping it out.
Yeah, right.
And
Like they
so
played
it's
the
like-
game, basically.
Yeah, it's their marketing is genius behind it. But I completely agree. Like when in Civil War, when they first show Spider-Man to the world and he steals Cap's shield, it's like, it's so perfect. And then the whole like back and forth between them, and same with Ant-Man, like, oh, he's Cap. And then in Endgame, when, you know, she calls him
Yep.
Cap, and then they have that little
That
look.
look.
Like there's just so many little
Yep.
things that they're able to do for these characters that, yeah, I'm super pumped to have him back, at least to finish off the run. I mean, because it's only 2 movies, they may not be able to go as far in, but at least they can close the story more than, without giving stuff away, they built it up to be in Far From Home.
Well, how much truth is there to Sony's being purchased by, like, not, I don't think it was Sony as a company, but maybe their media side being purchased by Apple? Is that purely speculation?
That apparently, yes.
Okay.
They've got others sniffing too, but I'm sure that's all purely speculation too, because they even
But,
said that like
yeah.
However,
Amazon
the
was looking
agreement-
at
Apple
them
could buy
too.
Disney. That's how big Apple
Apple's,
is.
yeah, well, yeah. And then Alphabet. Alphabet's another huge company because, and
Yeah.
those who don't know, Alphabet is basically Google's parent now. Like they,
Yeah.
anyway.
Which owns Amazon.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So,
I think they own Amazon.
No.
could
I
be
think
wrong,
Amazon
actually.
is its own company. Actually, I don't think Alphabet owns.
Yes, Amazon is its,
Yeah,
yes.
Amazon is its own thing. But either way, the agreement is if Sony media area is bought, or Sony, I guess, is bought by somebody else, then does that mean that means per the agreement, Marvel would get Spider-Man and all of its assets back, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the same deal that Fox had. So pretty much anybody that has the licensing agreement for Marvel characters, the deal is they own those rights until they sell. And then once they sell, those rights revert back to Marvel.
Okay. And the last straw is Spider-Man, right?
Yes.
That's it.
Well, technically the Hulk is owned by Universal, but they have like a never ending
Deal thing
agreement
going.
with Marvel
Okay.
that, yeah, they can do what they want. They just split some sort of profit with Universal.
So Universal is intelligent. They're like, we like making money. Do whatever you want.
You want the Hulk and all of his characters? Go for
Sure,
it. Here you go. Have fun.
Do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, before we get to our actual topic, I just want to say I finally watched Dark Phoenix.
I thought,
Yeah, and that's pretty much all I have to say on it.
yeah, didn't your son refuse to watch it? He'd rather
He
do
did.
something else than watch Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
That's a child,
He was
people. That is a child
It's a
who's
9-year-old.
like, no, Dad, I'm good. I'm good. That should tell you something. I was last night when I was playing Magic with some friends. Their Dark Phoenix was sitting on the table, and I looked at it and I was like, they had gotten it from Redbox, and I looked at it and I was like, you watch this? And he's like, no. I was like, oh, I just wanted to hear how bad it was. Not if it was bad, but just how bad was it? And he started laughing. So he got it for his kids to watch. So I don't know
Yeah.
how that's going to work out. But
So there are people in it that do really, really, really well. I can't take that away. Like, still, the way that Fox did Quicksilver was way better than the way Marvel did Quicksilver. There's some smaller parts in it they're really, really well done. Like,
yeah.
So I want you to watch it just because the way that they do Nightcrawler is probably the best I've ever seen. It is the way Nightcrawler should have been done forever, but I think they finally have the CG to be able to do it right.
That's what it was.
And
his response was, I don't mean to take it off of that, but we'll get back to just Nightcrawler. But because you're saying that, he said something about, like, if you really love X-Men, he had heard if you're really into comics, there's some things that are done right towards that, surprisingly
Yeah.
enough. Okay. Yeah. So Nightcrawler's one of them.
Yes, Nightcrawler is incredible. He's very much yeah, I don't want to give it away. There's a couple fight sequences with him involved that are just, it's incredible.
Who didn't want to be Nightcrawler, though? You know what I mean? Nightcrawler had the coolest ability in the world. The only problem is you have to look like a little blue devil.
Yes.
So it's a bummer, but you get to poof, where we go, poof, there I go, poof, there I go. It's really cool.
Yes, and there's a couple sequences where he's poof and going, and it's like perfect.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, even
I'll probably check it out eventually, one day, someday, maybe.
Yeah, I don't want to give it away, but it's for those little things. It is kind of worth watching, but it's still.
I would hate for Dark Phoenix to be ruined for me. Yeah, I'd really hate it.
Yeah, I know. You had the perfect segue, and then I screwed it up.
I really did. I tried to set you up, tried to bat it up.
Yeah,
you just want to talk about Nightcrawler. God.
Last night, you were at a pre-release for Magic: The Gathering, which is, for those that don't know, the largest trading card game in the world right now.
For good reason. Yesterday, last night I was playing Commander. I'll get into it, but yeah. Last night I didn't play the night pre-release game. I got pre-release packs for Just Night to open, but I didn't play it last night because I wanted to go play Commander. Yeah.
And so what brought the topic out was, so my son is in grade 4, and Pokemon, which is the second or third, depending on who you ask, largest trading card game in the world.
Is it fighting against Yu-Gi-Oh?
It is fighting against Yu-Gi-Oh.
Right. Just wanted to make sure that's probably what it was.
Yeah, those are the two. And it's actually funny. School started and my son's like, hey, can I get a Yu-Gi-Oh deck? And I was like, well, we'll see. Christmas is coming. And then he starts school and he gets this one teacher who, really cool teacher. Like, I met him last year. My son decided to do cross country, and which is long distance, not on a track running, for those that don't know.
Yeah, I used to run cross country when I wasn't.
Yeah, I did too when I was young. Yeah. And so
when we were skinny people.
To do it.
Yeah. Why would you do that voluntarily?
What? Cross country
did
is
it for like
amazing.
2 years.
Oh, get out of here. Cross country is incredible. When you go into a place in your mind, you know what, this is off topic. Cross country is amazing. Yeah. I'm sorry. Look at me. I did not veer. Well, I kind of vered off, and I'm veering off now.
I was going to let you veer.
Oh, I know.
But that's okay.
But no, cross country is incredible. It's amazing, Sid. Don't hate. It's great.
I don't run.
So the teacher's really cool. I know I'm not a runner anymore, but so his teacher's really cool. And what he did was he found out that most of their class is really into Pokemon cards. And so what he's going to do starting this Thursday coming up is every Thursday they're going to have a Pokemon League.
Get out.
Yeah, exactly. So in class, they're going to sit down and they're going to do proper Pokemon matches with the tabletop, everything, and they're going to play. And I'm like, that's genius, because you're going to be critical thinking. You're working on math skills because you're going to have to know attacks and multipliers. Like, it's actually really smart for outside of the box teaching. And I'm like, this is genius.
That teacher deserves an award. That is next level.
That's awesome.
So, but it makes me go, crap. Yes, you have Pokemon cards, but you don't have a deck. Like, a couple of years ago, we bought like a starter 2-pack deck, but then they're kids. They trade. They just want Pokemon cards. So they've gotten rid of all their energies. They've gotten rid of all their trainers.
Yep.
So they were like, they just had Pokemon cards and like, I have the strongest Pokemon card because it has the highest attack power. And I'm like, that's not the way it works.
Nope.
But so he's like, I really want to play in the league. So I need a deck. So I'm like, okay. So my wife goes off to Walmart thinking they're the cheapest, and she buys a 60 card starter deck. Like, I don't care if it's like the most powerful deck. We just need the starter deck so he can learn.
Yeah, I doubt these kids are playing metagame level Pokemon. They're probably
they're not at that level. And so we're like, fine. But so a starter deck up here at Walmart is $20, $20.99. And I'm like, okay, I got to go pick up my comics that I ordered from Wiser's. which is the collectible store.
By the way, they look real good.
It looks really. I haven't read it yet. I don't know why I haven't read it. I wanted to so bad. Oh, I do, because it's number 5 in the series, and I don't have 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's why I haven't read it yet. But while I was there, I was like, hey, let's look at Pokemon cards, and they had decks for $14. So I'm like, I'm going to buy him a deck from here. You can return it. I got sleeves. I bought him a deck box. So he had everything he needed, and brought him home. And I got him a Mewtwo deck. So his main character is Mewtwo, the main powerful Pokemon in the deck. And then of course my daughter's like, hey, can I have a deck? So I'm like, all right, I'll go again. So off I went again, and I bought her a deck box. I bought her a different deck, and then sleeves as well. And while I was there, I bought another pack of sleeves for a deck that my wife and I are going to share, which is that deck that she bought from Walmart.
I'm so happy to hear you're sleeving your cards. People who don't sleeve their cards, it grinds my gears. But that's the collector in me, okay? I have to preserve them.
I was not going to sleeve my kids' decks because I'm like, they're just going to destroy them anyways.
No, they need to understand what it means to preserve, okay?
Yeah.
So important.
Well, especially because we bought each one of them a booster pack too. And my daughter got like a foil GX tag team card that's like really nice.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah. I'm actually a little jealous that she got it. So she's really excited. My son got like some foil card, but it wasn't like a super one. So her new favorite card is this foil GX, and she like took it to our family dinner last night in its sleeve separate, and just like, hey, look at the card I got to show off.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So we're going to do a family game night where we're going to play Pokemon against each other.
Love it.
So that my son can learn better.
Magic. Yep.
Which I learned that the place where I bought the cards, they do every Friday night drafts of Magic, which was making me kind of want to learn more into Magic again. Because honestly, I don't know a ton. And so I was shocked looking at starter packs right before we started. And I was talking to you about it, at the cost of them.
Yep.
They were actually surprisingly a lot cheaper than I was expecting. But like, I've wanted to get into Magic since I was down and you and Ty were showing me how to play. It's just I don't have friends that play it up here.
Right.
And so I need to find a group. And so finding out that the comic book store, which is 10 minutes from my house, does tabletop nights. They actually have lots of tabletop nights.
Yep.
But finding out that they actually do a Magic night was kind of cool. So it's on my possible to-do list if I can ensure that I can go to Friday nights to play. And yeah. So that's where the topic came from, is it's now back into my life. And so I figured it'd be a great topic for all of us to talk about is tabletop games, because they've been around for quite a while. Magic's 15 years?
You're talking about trading card games.
Yeah, trading card games. Right? Yes, sorry, trading card games.
Tabletop. We can get into Warhammer if you want, but I don't think that's where we want to go with this.
No. Which that they do at that store. But no,
Yep.
Yes, trading card games. And Magic's 10, 15 years? I want to say 93. So yeah, 16 years they've been around. And so
I just brought that off the top of my head. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure 1993 is when Magic started.
It sounds right. My gut was 15 years, so 16. So
I'll look it up.
We're in the range. Yeah. And so knowing that it's been around that long and it's been traditionally just a trading card game, it was one of our topics that we're going to talk about and discuss. I wanted to talk about how a traditional trading card game where it's played in person on a tabletop can transition into online as well, or should they have to, and just everything. So I know you're very avid into Magic. I have seen your collection. So
I would like to let Sid go. I'm going to go on a tangent. I'm not going to lie to you. I've got a lot of things to say about it, and I don't know how I'm going to split myself up. So I'd rather Sid talk about what she wants to talk about. I'm just forewarning everyone, you're going to hear me talk for a little while. And I know some people don't want to hear that. I'm sorry.
Well, first, Aaron, you nailed it. It's 1993 is when it was created.
Oh, snap.
Pulled that out of thin air, but you got it right.
Whoa.
God, now his head's going to get even bigger.
Oh yeah. It
Oh,
needs to
man. I
match
don't
up
think
with the
it
rest of my
can.
fat body. Oh, it needs to. It's got to get a little bigger, just a little bit.
No, when it comes to magic, I'm not very well versed. I only know what I've watched people play or watched people talk about. My husband played for a while we were on the ship mostly. So he's got a box of cards upstairs. Uh, most of them sleeved, as far as I know, but he was actually just talking about it last night with another friend of ours that was over last night. Like, hey, if you want any of those, just let me know and we'll talk type of thing. Like he doesn't get out enough to go play it because the people that he played with were Aaron and Jess.
Yeah. And they decided to move to the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. So he doesn't really have anybody up here to play with because I'm not really into it.
Yeah. And you guys are unfortunately not quite close enough for me to be like, hey, we can have a game night.
Yeah. So it's trading card games aren't really my thing. Like I played Pokemon as a kid with my brother because it was like the only thing that we had to do together in the house. He really loved the Pokemon stuff, and so I would always play with my younger brother. That way he could practice for whatever he wanted to do when he was at school or hanging out with friends. I was being the nice big sister and playing Pokemon with him, or Yu-Gi-Oh, because he had Yu-Gi-Oh cards too. But
Did he
Pokemon was
have the
always
arm thing?
the arm thing.
Oh yeah,
For
in
Yu-Gi-Oh,
Yu-Gi-Oh, you
the
get
arm
this
deck.
arm thing, and you can put your cards in it, and because in the show that's what they
Oh,
do. They
right,
have
right,
this
right. You know what? I
giant
think he
plastic
did.
arm thing. Oh my god, I
I
always loved
think he
watching people
did.
bring those in and play with them because I think they worked. Like you could slide your cards in it and play that like you were playing the battling thing. And I never watched Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't know much about it, but
Well, now his son, my nephew, loves Pokemon as well. I think he only loves it for like the cards and the characters and all of that, but I don't think he actually plays it. But I mean, I could be wrong.
yeah.
But I think part of that love came from my brother, his dad. So it's definitely something that I think gets passed down through generations at this point because they've been around so long.
Which is cool to see.
Yes, absolutely.
And so before you start going crazy into it, Aaron, because I know you're warming yourself up.
Well, I'm trying to see how I can confine this into not going on a 2-hour tangent about Magic the Gathering and Pokemon.
How about I'll try and direct you a little bit, at least in the beginning. And so we were talking about, I was looking at the decks and like how to start into Magic, and you had an idea, but then you were like, oh, I'll save it for the show. So how about you start there? How would you suggest, in your vast, insane knowledge and gathering skills as a collector, how would you suggest somebody get started in Magic?
I guess this is the best time to bring this part up. It all started when I was a young lad, and
we're gonna be here forever.
No, your question actually, it does really well with what happened for me. So I was in, probably 6th grade, 7th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade. I was pretty young. So 6th, 7th grade, I know that they got, anyway. So 6th, 7th grade, I walked in. We have this place called the Comic Box in Texas where I lived. It's been closed. My brother actually called me and asked me if I wanted their outside store sign. I was like, what the hell am I going to do with that, man? Like, I love you, but what am I going to do? I know I don't want that sign. Like, but this was the first comic shop I had ever been to. I'd been there
in your kids' room and called the kids' room the Comic Box. Just saying.
No, we're talking about the outside sign. We're talking about like the sign that said like the big metal.
You could have found a way to put it in the room.
No, that would not. I don't think that would fit. Like, I don't know where that would fit. Anyway, the comic box was a place that I went to buy my Ghost Rider comics. My comics, right? Yeah. My Ghost Rider, my X-Men. That's where comics happened for me. And we were in a little tiny town in Texas, so it was like it's grown a lot since then. But this wasn't a big place, and this is back when these type of things were still, like we talked about, the nerd culture and geek culture, and you were kind of shameful to have your comics or your Magic cards and stuff like that. So Magic wasn't that old back then. When I was, I mean, it was what I probably was. It was probably maybe 3 or 4 years old. Anyway, there's a set called Urza Saga, and that was the first set that came out. And I'm a kid in this shop, and I see. I'm going there, and I got all my birthday money, right? My birthday money is burning a hole in my pocket, and I see that some friends had been playing Magic in 6th grade, and I never knew anything about it. It just looked cool, and so I decided I wanted to play Magic. I'd met some friends, wanted to play Magic cards. So I bought all the starter boxes and stuff like that I could, and I started playing Magic. Now, when I started playing Magic, I didn't understand all the interactions and things you could do in Magic. I just wanted to play the game, just like your kids, right? They just want to play the game. I was a little older than they are. So I did that. I collected all these cards. I had all this stuff. My big thing was dragons. I was trying to collect all the dragons in Mirage, and I had like the Tempest Dragon. I had all these different dragons. It was just all about collecting. I just want to collect because I had my comics too. So I would try to preserve them. I kept them in binder sleeves, things like that. We used to trade at school all the time. Well, a lot of people knew I had a lot of good stuff. I had a lot of rare things, a lot of things worth money even then. And when do I say worth money? I mean, we're in 7th grade, so like $10 cards, right? Like that are worth money. So I brought my collection. Everybody knew I was big into my dragons, and I'd met friends. I made friends through trading, like through Magic, right? Like I made new friends through this game and learning how to play. And you're playing with a mixed age group, right? You go to the comic store and you play your game. You go to your local game store, I should say, your LGS, and you play. And there's adults that are just killing you because they understand interactions better than you do, but you learn the hard way, right? You kind of like, oh, that's how that works, and it becomes interesting. It's very when you talked about your son's teacher teaching with Pokemon, that is just incredible. That's on another level to me. That's amazing, and for the same reason. Well, down the road, brought my cards to school. Somebody stole them. My entire collection was stolen. The school had banned bringing Magic cards to school, and I didn't want to get in trouble, so I didn't bring it up with the school because I was scared to get in trouble. I was I was a real obedient child back then. So the fact that I was breaking the rules by bringing my Magic cards to school, and the reason why Magic cards weren't allowed is because it'd become this craze and everybody was playing it. It was like a boom in Magic. And the school was tired of it because kids weren't focused on school stuff. They were playing and Magic doesn't have. It's like a teen rating. Like you have to be a certain age to play Magic.
Yeah, I think it's 13 plus.
Yes, it's 13 plus game. And I think maybe we at that time were right around that age. We were 12 or 13, but they weren't having it, right? It's Texas, so they were going to do whatever they were going to do. So my cards got stolen. I said, screw Magic. It was really cool. A lot of my friends came together, and each of them gave me a dragon from their sets to kind of help build my dragon collection, but it wasn't enough for me to get back in Magic. Pokemon just came out. Like we're talking about brand new. Pokemon was a brand new game. And I was like, well, I like the cartoon. I'll play Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
So then me and my friends started getting a Pokemon. I joined a Pokemon League. I earned some badges from gyms. Like it was really cool. I collected the entire the basic set, the entire jungle set, and the entire fossil set. So those who don't know, that's the first 3 sets of Pokemon.
That's legit.
Yeah, and I recently sold all those for Magic cards, so I don't have the first 3. I had them in their completion, in binders, in number order of the set, all the way up into including the energy. So I had the entirety of the set. I collected everything, as many energies I could get. I was a weird kid that way, but I was playing. I had my Scyther Pinsir deck, which was really quick and amazing. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. It was more childhood friendly, and honestly, I think Pokemon stayed around for good reason. Pokemon's interactions are actually pretty in-depth, incredible, and this is back then. I don't know what they've done since then. I've seen the cards. I don't know who the Pokemon are anymore. I didn't keep up past the original 151 or whatever Pokemon that it was. But yeah, I went and saw the movie. You talked about the the Pokemon movie, and I went there. I had my ancient Mew, the Egyptian ancient Mew, still in its packaging in my collection that I got rid of. But fast forward, I just went on a long tangent. I know. So to answer your question, that was me as a kid, right? Getting started. So you're talking about getting started in card games. It depends on what you can do. I don't know So that was kind of my experience in Magic and Pokemon. I play Magic exclusively now, and that has to do with Jess getting me back into it years and years later, though I'd sworn it off. She's like, you ever heard of this game Magic? I was like, oh, there's a story with that. We started back in Shadows over Innistrad when we started. That's been a few years now. We've built a collection. I probably have 40 or 50,000 cards in my closet.
Yeah.
Right? I might have more. I have a lot. I have a lot of cards, and it only grows. People give me their collections, or I buy collections, and I've been sorting them out. That's all I do, and I like to do that. I like to listen to vinyl and sort Magic cards. It's soothing to me. When I used to play as a kid, I played very competitive Magic, and I played very competitive Pokemon. Like that's what I was doing. I was playing to win. It's funny now as an adult, I'm not into the competitive format. When we got back into it, when Sid, your husband, and Jess and I and Tony and all of us got back into Magic initially, we were all playing standard, right? And so this is what I don't know with Pokemon. So this is where I'm going to kind of leave us in the Pokemon realm. I don't know where Pokemon's at right now. As far as I know, Pokemon only has one format, and that's just to play the normal Pokemon. You build your deck and you play each other. Magic has grown into something more, and Pokemon might very well have. Yu-Gi-Oh can suck it. I was never interested in that game. All my friends that like to play Yu-Gi-Oh, that's fine. I had no interest in Yu-Gi-Oh. I thought Pokemon was a better game than Yu-Gi-Oh, and I think Magic is a more intricate game than any of them, but it also has a longer history, right? It's got a lot more cards. It has a very in-depth lore now. That was something it didn't originally have. They built a lore. So if you're into story, Magic's got you covered. If you're into casual playing, Magic's got you covered. If you're into competitive, super crazy stuff, Magic's got you covered. If you want to play multiplayer, Magic's got you covered. Beyond 2 people. You want to play online now, Magic's got you covered. They did before, but I'll go into that here in a bit when we talk about that. But to answer your question of what you want to do, it depends. Introducing new people to Magic. So when you ask me the question, now that I'm finally getting to your topic question, way to steer me, Steve. Come on now. I just wanted to say that because as a kid, right, that was my introduction to both those games. When you're talking about your children, I think it's really cool they naturally just got into Pokemon. I don't think they'd want to play Magic right now. There are kids their age that do. I've seen it. That their parents want them to play Magic. They don't want them to get into Pokemon because they want to do Magic with them, right? Because Pokemon, it's called card crack or crack cardboard crack. There it is, cardboard crack for a reason. So naturally, as like a collector, if your kid gets into Pokemon, I'm going to start playing Pokemon, right? And then I'm leaving Magic a little bit, and I'm going to want them into Magic when they get older. I'm going to only talk to Magic because I only know Magic now. It depends on what you don't want to do. So when you said that, you were talking about, so just so people know, Core 2020 or Core, is the most recent. Core 2020 is the most recent core set. Magic had veered away from core sets. Core sets are a way for them outside of the storyline to introduce cards that maybe work in the format, specifically standard. So standard, Magic has vintage, legacy, modern, standard, Pauper, Commander, Brawl, Pauper Commander, Tiny Leaders Commander, Oathbreaker Commander. So just like that, all of these are different reasons to play Magic, just so you know. And I could go through them all. I'm not going to. It seems unnecessary. What I can tell you is when you told me that you found starter decks, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to start in Magic, buying starter decks that have just standard cards in them would be a good idea if you intend to play in standard format. So when you talked about buying a starter pack that has 260 card decks, that is going to be great for you to start a collection in standard play. It's exactly how when Jess got me back into Magic, how we did it. Shadows over Innistrad was new. We played standard, so we were buying standard cards. Standard is a rotational format, and what that means is as new sets come out, eventually old sets rotate out of standard. Standard is what the big, hey, this is what's happening now in Magic. When you play MTG Arena, when we get into the online format, standard is what's happening now. It's the newest sets all lumped together. It's what the professionals are playing against each other. Not that you can't do that in like modern and other ones, but that's a whole different intricate system that's unnecessary to talk about. So it's a rotational format. If you're into digital play, MTG Arena is apparently really popular. I don't like it because I like Commander only, but they just introduced what they call Brawl. So Brawl is supposed to be a segue for people who want to play Commander. Commander is a very, very complicated format because Commander embodies all of the cards in Magic from 1993 to now. And it's called the Singleton format, and I could get into that. So what I was going to recommend to you, Steve, is that if you wanted to play Magic and your intention was to play more casual, I would actually, and we're not sponsored by Card Kingdom. Card Kingdom, I have mixed feelings about them right now, simply because of the Brawl decks that just came out. I really don't like the way they did that. But that's a whole nother thing. However, there's some things they do well. Card Kingdom is a Seattle-based company. They have an in-store called Mox, and I've been to it when I used to live up there. So they sell what they call battle decks, Steve.
Okay.
And for $10, you get a really cool 60-card deck, and they're really neat, and you get your money's worth out of it. And what's neat about these is they're made by Card Kingdom. That's why I have to specify Card Kingdom. Nobody else's maybe other companies make something similar, but I can only speak to these. But basically, Card Kingdom's employees or patrons come in, they build these really neat 60-card decks, and they sell them cheap, and they're very functional. The reason why these are key is if you intend to play more casual Magic and you don't care about Standard, this gives you a wider variety of cards from multiple different sets, old and new. And these battle decks are really, really versatile and very beginner friendly, while also being powerful enough to be okay to stand up to other people's stuff. It's a real, because you can do cool stuff in Magic cheap.
Yeah.
There is obviously, your $1,000+ cards, your hundreds of dollar cards. I have them, not the 1,000+. I don't have any of those. But I have like multiple $100 cards, right? These are what you consider like your big bomb cards in Modern and Legacy and Vintage and Commander. But in Standard gets expensive because the hot cards are the hot cards, and people need 4 of in their deck, right? It's not a singleton format. So when you ask me that question, and for anybody who wants to get into Magic, God, I've really long-winded this and somebody else to speak. My point is it depends on what you want to do. I would recommend to any new player to look at the different formats of Magic, and I know that takes some homework, and that would decide what kind of decks you're buying. I do think that casual is better, but that's me. I only play Commander now and pre-release events, and we can talk about that in a minute. So there you go, Steve. I recommend looking at the different formats of Magic. I think that Pokemon is very kid-friendly, but I think that it has enough depth to where you and your wife would enjoy playing with your kids, and it's going to be fun for a game night. It's got really cool interactions, but like I said, my only knowledge of Pokemon was those base 3 sets. That's been years now, over 10 years ago. So when it comes to specifically trading card games, I think understand your formats, understand the different ones that exist, if they exist for other games outside of Magic. I just know Magic has a lot of different ones, as I named, and you kind of want to know what you want to get into when you do it, and kind of what your people get into.
Yeah.
Like what the people around you mentioned the local game store. If they all like whatever group you get into, that's kind of where you end up, right? Commander was something I got introduced to by a group, and that's why I've ended up there. I just enjoy the format and multiplayer. It's what I taught you to play when you came and visited.
Yeah, you were teaching me Commander. I had fun with it, so thank you. All right, so continue.
Yep. Steve's like, what do I do with that?
No, it's This is way more your topic. I have interest in it, and so I was excited to talk about it. But at the same point, you're going to be leading this, and like you said, you're going to talk about it for a while. So
yeah. Well, like Sid was mentioning, you remember when we drafted all those cards at your house, Sid? You remember we all went in on a box and we all pulled packs randomly and we opened the
Yeah, I
packs
think
at
I
you
made
guys'
dinner that
place.
night so you guys could continue doing your stuff.
You did. Yeah, and you and I shared some really good IPAs, actually. That's when you introduced me to you showed me your whiskey stones.
Yeah.
You just gotten whiskey stones. I don't know why I remember that
I
little
was super
detail,
proud
but
of
that
them.
is exactly what happened. You really were, and you showed me your whiskey stones, and you introduced me to that IPA out of
Firestone.
Fireside or Firestone. Yes.
Union
my
Jack.
God. I think that was it. Yes, that's it. Yes, that was it. Oh my God. And then we had some other random ones I brought over. Anyway, at that moment, I mean, that was us doing standard, and that's really fun. Drafting's another thing. Pre-release events are another thing. Those aren't really formats, as in those are different event type things that Magic does. So I'll talk a little bit about what I think's really cool. If you're a new player, Magic does some really neat things. Every time a new set comes out, Magic does these introductory things, and it actually encourages players like me to come to. So it's really neat because it's community based. So they basically ask advanced players to come to the store, and then people who are new come in and they teach them how to play with the game, and the new players rewarded with a free deck, and the veteran player gets a promo card.
Well, that's nice.
It's really, really cool. It's a neat thing. You're not getting anything special. The deck is pre-made, right? But it's a starting piece to a collection. It's a beautiful community type relationship thing that Magic does. They've gotten big enough, but Magic's bigger than ever right now. It's bigger than it's ever been, which is good for my collection because the value's gone up. But it's such a format that's so friendly to the new player experience. What I did this weekend, so Thrones of Eldraine just came out. It's a set based on Brothers Grimm lore, as well as like Hansel and Gretel. I think is still Brothers Grimm. I'm trying to like Mother Goose fairy tales.
Okay, yeah.
And Arthurian history, which is why I'm about to build my Monty Python on the Holy Grail deck. Really excited about that. So yeah, so they released a king character that was a buy box promo, and it's supposed to be King Arthur, but it looks more like Arthur author of the Britons from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So now I'm going to pick cards because I'm going to build a commander deck out of it, and he's going to be my commander, and he's a 5-color commander, which means I can use any card I want. And I'm going to go through the history of Magic's cards, and I'm going to rewatch Monty Python a lot. And I'm going to make every card have an index to what it means in the movie. So my entire deck's going to be based on the movie. It won't be powerful.
But it's going to be fun.
By the way, it's going to be fun. This actual is a broken commander. There's a lot of people who are already thinking about how they're going to abuse him. I don't like to play Magic that way. I like to play Magic janky and fun. Like I have a Rafika the mini deck that's supposed to be one of the most powerful commanders in Magic, but I play him as themed around Gladiator, the movie. I built it with – he ends up just being naturally powerful because the guy's ridiculously strong. But my buddy Ty, we picked a movie. He picked Gladiator for me, and I picked Alien for him. So he built a deck based on aliens with like a xenomorph type centric experience, and mine was all based on Gladiator, which was really fun. So the pre-release event. So what's really neat is Thrones of Eldraine has not come out yet. It comes out by the time this is heard, it'll come out on Friday of this week.
Yeah, October 4th.
When you're listening to this, yep, there you go. Thank you. So October 4th is when Thrones of Eldraine comes out. A pre-release event is an interesting event that happens the weekend before its release. So exactly a week before, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. LGSs, which stands for Local Game Store, but I'll use LGS from here on out. LGSs will open up their doors, and you get a chance to come in and buy a pre-release pack. So the entry fee is $30. You receive 6. We're going to use Thrones of Eldraine just because. So, for instance, Thrones of Eldraine is the new set. You get 6 Thrones of Eldraine packs, and you get a pre-release promo foil. The pre-release promo foil is guaranteed to be a rare or a mythic rare. And what you do is then you open all 6 of those packs, and you build a deck out of it, a 40-card deck, right? So normal Magic is 60 cards, Commander is 100 cards, but this is a 40-card deck format. The reason why this is beautiful is this is a brand new set. Nobody has played with this set. Thrones of Eldraine's a little not as applicable because they released the Brawl decks early, but it's nor here nor there on MTG Arena specifically. So they allowed digital play to happen before. But typically, new sets come out. All of the people playing that set have not played with the new mechanics. All these people haven't played with the brand new cards. So your most veteran players down to the most basic level learning Magic for the first time players all have a more equilibrium basis of knowledge of the game. Plus, while yes, you were building your own 40 card deck out of all these packs you got, you're not allowed to trade, okay? Because it is a competing event. You win packs. Like I won 10 packs this weekend for playing, which is awesome, for free, just for playing. Like I paid those 6 packs in that promo card, that's worth at least $30, possibly more, the value. Because you could pull like $100-something cards. Specifically with Thrones of Eldraine, they did these special like alter arts and extended art cards and stuff. They're doing a lot of cool stuff, so you get a lot of value out of that. But you can crosstalk. So whereas you can't trade your cards, all these veteran players who've been doing these limited, this is called the sealed format. All these people that have been doing this will look at your deck and be like, oh, no, you should probably do this, and this is where you curve out. It's a chance for them to teach people how to play Magic better. And I'm not, like, I'm a veteran player as in I've played a long time, but I'm not very good at this stuff. So I'm sitting there asking these people who play this kind of stuff for a lot of times. I'm like, hey, man, how's my curve look? And what that means is how much mana you spend throughout the game for the cards you play. And they'll look at it and be like, oh, no, this card's better. In fact, after I lost a game to one of the guys there, he was like, hey, let me see your cards. And so I showed him my entire pool. He's like, dude, you pulled an awesome pool. You just need to set your deck up better. And so he switched up some cards. I went undefeated after that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really, really, it's a really cool experience. I can't talk about pre-releases enough. The problem with pre-release is you can't be like, oh, I want to get into Magic, I'm going to go do a pre-release, right? It has to be a week before a new set's coming out. So it's not as like open-ended, but whenever a new set comes out, if you haven't gotten into Magic, I really recommend looking at the set release dates. We're going into the Theros block next, I believe, and that's really fun. That involves gods and the mythos of gods, and like, oh, there's so many cool things that come out. And I didn't get to play Theros because I wasn't playing Magic when the first set came out. So I'm excited to go there to that plane, and that going to a plane has to do with stories and stuff. But there's like an intricate, beautiful story behind Magic that I don't personally get into, but a lot of people love it. And so when they see these cards are following and showing times in the story. So think about it as like you read a book about lore behind these cards, and at the same time, you then get to see the cards as like a comic strip depicting moments in the story for you. So that's like another level of depth that people can get into with these cards. And not to mention that the art is just extravagant. It's beautiful in these cards. It's just
that
amazing.
was actually,
there's a lot of reasons to get
that was actually one of the things I thought was really cool when we did that conference at PAX, when me, you, and Ty, and we dragged my wife along to it.
We did.
And we waited in line.
This was for Ixalan.
It was for Ixalan, yeah. And we waited in line, and that line was actually pretty big. And there was people playing Magic in the lineup, which I thought was hilarious. And every time we had to move, they'd have to pack up and then reopen.
Yep. They were trying to sit there and play, and they just like, okay, let's move along.
But it was really cool to see the amount of people that were there. Like there was people dressed as characters from the cards, and there was, I want to say, more people invested in the story and where Magic was going than there was in just, hey, what's the next big powerful card you're bringing out? And I thought that was really cool to see.
Yeah, and you got to see that. Yeah, and your reaction to that was amazing, because when we walked out, you're like, wow, that art was impressive. So Ixalan introduced dinosaurs and pirates and vampires and merfolk, like this really cool. It was a really neat plane to visit. The art was beautiful. The set ended up being a huge success, especially for people into tribal stuff. That was a big deal. That it's funny you mentioned. So to tell you how old that is, Ixalan and Dominaria are about to rotate out. As soon as Thrones of Eldraine comes out this October 4th, in Standard, officially Ixalan and Dominaria and M19 will all leave. So right as we're talking about this in the podcast, Steve, the very set that you got to watch, the art, it wasn't even out yet. You just watched art of that was showing, they didn't even show the cards. They showed the art for the card. And now you're about to not even be able to use that set in Standard, right? So it's going to move off into the sunset of stuff like Modern and Legacy and Commander and things like that. Yeah. So maybe not Legacy, but at least Modern and Commander and things. So yeah, crazy to think about that. Yeah, and if you like multiplayer stuff, Brawl is what Brawl is it's 60 cards singleton, which means you can only have one of every card except for basic lands in the set, unless the card says otherwise. There's cards like Relentless Rats, that's not legal in standard, but it says you can have as many of this card in your deck. So that breaks the rules of even singleton format. In normal Magic, usually you can have 4 of any card, and that's your normal limit. But in Commander and Brawl, it's singleton, so 1 of each one. So what's cool about Brawl, and they're really hitting it up now, is Brawl is you have a commander just like you do in Commander, or Elder Dragon Highlander is what it was originally called, EDH for short. But you have a commander, it's only 60 cards. I think it's only 20 life, like normal Magic. So it's kind of that bridge between standard and it's a rotational singleton format. So Brawl can only use standard cards.
Okay.
But what makes Brawl interesting is they introduced Brawl in MTG Arena. So you can't play Commander in MTG Arena, but you can play Brawl. So that's kind of opened it up. It's made me even think about getting into MTG Arena, just for that. Actually, anybody who's into MTG Arena, we could do a giveaway. I've got a bunch of codes for my pre-release
Is
event.
that the
to give
is
them
that
a free
the
pack from
online
Thrones
one?
Train. And you can only use one per account.
Okay.
It is the online one.
It is, yeah, it is the online one. Yeah,
I played it for.
Does
a
Rob
little
play
bit.
that? Oh, okay. Well, I've got codes to give out. I've got eight codes. I've got 8 codes to give away.
Nice.
Yeah. So if somebody's into that and they didn't get the chance to go to pre-release and get their own code, then I've got codes. But that's what I did all weekend. I played pre-release and I played Commander last night until 2 a.m. So I'm tired. But I've got to.
I'm tempted to head to Wiser's at 3:30 today if the family will let me, and hit up the pre-release for today. They're doing a sealed at 3:30.
Oh yeah, that's pre-release. It's super fun, man. It's worth it because everybody's so friendly, and I mean you're already Canadian, so your people are even more friendly. In fact, I'm sure every time somebody wins, they go, "I'm sorry I beat you," and they're like, "I'm sorry that I let you win like that," and they just keep apologizing back and forth. I don't think your pre-release event probably gets done. It's just apologizing
just constant
over and over.
But yeah,
endless cycle.
$30 per person, like you said.
Yep.
You get. Yeah, so it's $30 entry to a sealed deck event, and then 2 packs per entrant that shows up for the event goes into the prize pool at the end of the event.
Yep. Like I got 7th place in both of the events I actually played, and I got 5 packs per. So I got 10 free packs. That's $40 worth of packs for free,
which is crazy.
Yeah, if you get first place, you get an entire box, 36 packs. Yeah. Yeah, and I believe the guy this weekend that won, him and another, and it's really cool sportsmanship. So we were running late, and the other pre-release event needed to start. So he came in and he asked the other undefeated person who got a ridiculous pull out of his pre-release pack. Like we're talking like maybe like $500-$600 worth of value in his cards from his. Yeah, it was in the, and they just like, hey, I'm undefeated, you're undefeated. Do you want to play this last game, or do you just want to let the other thing, and we'll split the box? And he was like, yeah, let's split the box. So they split the box, and I'm pretty sure his wife went undefeated the very next day, and she won an entire box. She beat me. She was really nice. Her name was Morgan. She whooped the crap out of me. It was sad. My deck was doing okay, and then she played me, and I got just awful stomped. It was sadness. What's cool about this is they have like knights and stuff. Like you can get Beauty and the Beast. Just so you know. So there's a rare card called I don't remember the exact name. It's something Beast or something like that. Anyway, he when he comes on the battlefield, he creates a 1/1 human creature, and the art for the 1/1 human token is it looks like Belle. It's really, really good, and he can't like attack or block if she's not on the field. If a 1/1 creature is not on the field, it's really, really thematic. They've got Hansel and Gretel. They've got like a witch's oven, and they've got stuff from like Macbeth, the 3 Fate sisters. They've got like King Arthur stuff and a bunch of knights and fairies, and it's a really cool set. There's a lot of Disney like stuff in it. A lot of the castles, they have a land cycle of castles that are rare lands. I've got all but the green one. So I'm hoping Jess pulls the green one. But that land cycle, all those castles look like different things. One looks like a Star Destroyer. One looks like I think the castle from Lord of the Rings. I don't remember which one. Minas Tirith, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that's the white land, and then the other ones I don't remember. All of them have like one looks like that's the one I don't have. The green one looks like
Oh,
Pride Rock from Lion King.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, it's really cool, man. And that's the other thing. The Star Destroyer Blackland also looks like it could be Aladdin's lamp if you look at the outside of it. It's really really neat. So like they get away with all the stuff. That's pretty funny. They have a Black Knight in the set that it gets weaker as it gets damaged. So it's like the Black Knight from Monty Python. So it's losing its limbs. So it loses. I think it loses a +1/+1 counter every time. It comes with 4 +1/+1 counters. So that's like it's 2 arms and 2 legs. And so every time it takes damage, it loses a +1/+1 counter. So it gets slightly weaker. So it's essentially that's going in my deck. It's got Lady in the Lake. I pulled a foil of her. She's really powerful, actually. It's got somebody who I assume is probably Merlin, a blue wizard. It's a really cool set. It's super thematic and super fun. Like Geralt is a really cool. I think no, I don't think I think I messed up his name. Oh, Garrick. Wow. Yeah, Garrick. Garrick is a really favored planeswalker, and they reintroduced him in this set as the Cursed Huntsman, which was really neat. They have the glass box. You can trap somebody's character in a tower like Rapunzel, or you can trap them in a glass container like Snow White. And so they have like Prince Charming, and they have like the Love's First Kiss as a card, I think, in the set, and that like breaks things like that. So it's just really, really thematic. It's amazing. It's probably one of my favorite sets of Magic. It was a lot of fun to play. The interactions are a lot of fun, Steve. So if you go do that pre-release event, it's a good time.
nice. Yeah.
So is that it? Have you guys done hearing me talk? I do have an oops thing for
really?
you,
Sure,
Steven,
go for it.
from the last
What did I screw up?
podcast.
What did I not catch?
Yeah. So and it could be an economy thing in Canada as a difference to America. But what you said about local game stores dying, that they have to keep old comics, is actually the exact opposite of what happens here.
Oh, really?
So yeah, in fact, the guy that I work with from the Boys of Summers comics store in California. When I walked in there to get vintage comics, and he got out of that business because it was too expensive and it did not work anymore. In fact, his only business now is subscription-based comic books, which you did mention the subscription thing, but he also sold only new comics. Funny story, every other comic book store I've been in pretty much runs that same way here.
Yeah, so maybe it must be different.
All of them. Yeah, and so it's maybe not an oops, but like I just don't want it to be seen as like an all around thing, because in America it's different. At least all the ones I've been to, they specifically are getting out of the vintage comic game, or they barely dabble
I
in it
wouldn't have
because it's
known
the new
that.
comics that
So
make the money for them.
because I haven't been in a comic store since I was probably 10 years old.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're gravy. It was just when I heard it, I was like, I don't know about that.
That's actually really interesting to hear, because I mean, it could be I've went to 2 here, and then I chose the closest one to do my subscription through. Yeah, it could just be those 2, maybe where they're located.
Oh, it could be, or maybe that's just the way it is up there. Maybe like subscriptions aren't as big, and maybe they're making better money on the vintage, the old stuff, which is what I prefer.
The place where Wiser's Collectibles, their majority of business is trading card games and tabletop games.
That is big right now. TCGs are huge, and I do think that I don't personally like the digital stuff. I don't like the video game version. I like paper Magic, and the reason why is the same reason I like paper comics over digital comics. I like to hold the cards in my hand. I like to do that stuff. Not to say that MTG Arena is the reason that Magic the Gathering is getting bigger. People are getting introduced to the game via MTG Arena, and they're learning the game, and then they want to play paper.
They've
Magic.
actually,
they've
been doing a really good job marketing it too. They've partnered with a lot of streamers, where they give streamers like a whole bunch of decks on their account, and then they play online, and then they see a large influx of people joining, because they've got rather large streamers who never played Magic in their life learning how to play it themselves, and then having people that in their communities are like, hey, I've played Magic, you should try this, you should do that, you should do this, and then it's that interaction, and it's actually really cool to watch.
Yeah, because there is MTGO, so that's MTG Online. It's been around a very, very long time. A lot of people have a lot of money invested into it. Wizards has actually accepted giving ticks, which is the currency in MTGO, away as prizes and stuff. They are moving away for that for MTG Arena, but a lot of people still play on MTGO. I think it still releases new cards on it because it's got such a big following, but it is very old. It's very clunky. MTG Arena is slick looking. The thing is you can play any card in Magic on MTGO, and MTG Arena is limited to only standard cards that have happened since its beginning, right? So they haven't done older sets, which is why Brawl is the only way you can kind of play Commander on MTG Arena. I don't think you can play it 4-player. I'd like to see that. If you can play it 4-player, I'd be more interested in checking it out. But yeah, I think MTG Arena is really cool. There's some really neat animations in it. It's a really neat thing. It's just not for me. I like paper Magic too much.
Which is, I mean, totally understandable.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm that way with comics. Like, I tried very hard to do digital comics. I actually accidentally on Prime Reader may have accidentally bought the entire Dark Phoenix saga in comics.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Well, so I had a big pop-up saying Prime Reader now in Canada. And so it's part of Amazon Prime. And it's like they have comics, and it's like, hey, there's free comics with your Prime membership. So I'm like, great, okay. So I'm clicking through, and I'm like, oh, okay, this looks cool. This looks cool. And on the website, it's very easy to see what's free and what's not. On the app, it's not that easy to see. So I was like, oh, hey, Dark Phoenix, okay. And it's like add to reader. So I pressed add to reader, and then I got a pop up, and it's like, hey, thanks for the $15. And I'm like, damn it. So now I have to read it all. I wanted to read it, but I didn't want to pay for it.
Yeah, but now your hands forced. Yeah.
And they do the click style as an option. So what that is it's guided reading. So if you have
this is what you were talking about before, yeah.
So you click on it, the first panel, you double click on it, and then that becomes the full screen, and then you just tap the screen and it'll progress panel to panel to guide you through how to read
it. Which I think is genius. Yeah, that's genius. It's just really good.
Yeah, it's a really, really smart move that they did.
Yeah.
So I'd have to sit down and read it.
So your response to our listeners was, hey,
sorry,
Aaron wasn't on the last episode, so we're just going to let him talk for the entire thing. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you doing that for me. Yeah. Thanks, y'all.
Yeah.
I'm so pleasantly surprised that our listeners would let this happen. I'm sure they're probably going to go into a mutinous rage. Like, how could you? Why did I have to listen to Aaron talk for an entire hour? I love that we brought this topic up. I love Magic. I think it's really cool, and I appreciate you making it a topic that we talk about, Steve. And I thank both you and Sid for listening to me rant on about it forever. I'm sorry to any of those who had to endure it. It's painful. But yeah, I love trading card games. I think that Magic, Pokemon are good. Yu-Gi-Oh can suck it. Dragon Ball Z was cool when it came out, but it kind of died early, and it's not as good. So anyway, yeah, I love this topic. I love Magic.
And I knew you would like it. I'm surprised we actually hadn't talked about it earlier.
Yeah, and I figured you'd talk the whole time anyways.
Yeah.
Well, you missed the last episode we did, and then we didn't do an episode last week, so you really had like a backup of chatter. So
yeah, I needed to release,
I may be installing Arena right now just to see. I haven't played it in a while, so I figure, hey, let's
yeah, I thought about doing the same thing.
So I know it's relatively resource easy, so it should be able to be played on most PCs, even your laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know when I played it, the social system was lacking. So it you could add friends, but then you couldn't really play against them. And then they put it in a way, but it was clunky. It's part of it being beta. So that's the other thing is, so with the release of, you said it like 9 million times and my brain's not.
Thrones of Eldraine?
With the release of Thrones of Eldraine, the MTG Arena is now full release. It's no longer just beta. is my understanding. So they're having a big event inside Arena right now where it's kind of like deck building, where they give you, from my understanding, is they give you everything that's available in the game. You can build multiple decks, you play, and as you play, you have the ability to win every single card in the game as part of this event.
Oh, wow. That's
so I don't know
cool.
how you win it, but I know that that's part of this big release they're doing this week. And I think it ends on October 3rd or 4th, like right before, like the event ends right before Throne of Eldraine comes out.
That's gnarly.
Yeah. And so if you do start playing it, one thing to be aware of is do the tutorials, and then they give you quests. So you'll get 3 regular quests and then a daily quest. And every time you finish the daily quest, you get another starter pack. So the quest will be based on the current pack you have. So it'll be, say you start off with a white deck, it'll be like play 15 white magic cards. So then you play through, and then they give you in-game currency for that, just because we're talking about it anyways.
Yeah.
They give you in-game currency for completing your quests. And then at the end of the quests, when you finish all 3, it'll be like do 20 damage to an opponent or something. It's like takes a little bit more time to do. It's like 2 or 3 games to finish it usually. When you finish that, you get the next deck. So then it'll be like, here's a red deck. And then you play through with your red deck doing different quests pertaining to red, and then black, and then mixed decks. And so it's a really good way to learn. And then you end up with 15 starter decks to build your own decks from, as well as then you can buy booster packs with the in-game currency that you earned through doing these quests. And then they're constantly releasing codes to get free booster packs.
Yeah, and I don't know if you did you mention, I might have missed it. Did you mention that they have the special cards that you can pull where you get to transform it into any card of that level, that rarity level?
No, I hadn't yet.
I don't know if that's actually official. That might only have been in beta. That was when I played.
Let me see if I can get.
But you could get like a mythic, like you pull a mythic card, but it wasn't like a specific mythic, and you could like make it into, like, it was a certain weird like card that you could turn into that rarity of your choice. Kind of weird stuff.
Yeah, they get so that was the other thing, is so after you open a certain amount of booster packs, you get guaranteed a mythic or mythic rare in your next one. So it was, they do really cool things that way. And then you can trade them in. They have a card building, so you can trade in like mythic cards to create a different one. It's loading for me right now, so I will be able to get you a little bit more information quickly here. Claim rewards. Apparently I got rewards for playing in preseason placements. It's explaining that they're dropping Ixalan, which you already talked about, and Dominaria in Corset 2019. There's apparently a lot of screens I got to go through to get into the game to tell you.
Yeah.
Oh, you're good. Yeah. I wouldn't worry about it.
But if you guys are interested, it's worth checking out. It's free to play, and you get, from the looks of it, a pretty decent deck online to start with, or at least a pool of cards.
Yeah, pretty neat.
So I guess on that we can end our show. Oh, it was good to be back.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yes.
I'm happy to be here with you too. Thanks for letting me rant.
Anytime.
Yeah, of course. It's kind of your thing anyways.
Yeah. Ranting? Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm good
I was talking about magic, but also yes, that too.
Oh, all right. So
sweet.
Yeah, if you guys want to get in touch with us, Facebook group, Can You Geek Nerds, Can You Geek Podcast is our page. I'm on Twitter at Can You Geek. He's at Southam Designs, and she's at Sid Stare. And yeah, we're on Patreon. I mean, it's a work in progress, but there's ways to get a hold of us. We would love to hear from you. We want to be more engaged. I mean, if you want these codes that Aaron has, best way to do it is get in touch with us.
Yeah, I'll give you an MTG Arena code. I'm way down with it.
So on that, later, nerds.
Later, nerds.
Later, nerds.
Today's music is used by permission from the artist Broke for Free. The song is called Something Illegal. You can find it on freemusicarchive.org under the